So we start with the beginning of wisdom of the body, and what we're interested in is following a neurological pattern, a pattern in your brain that you've already established. Now, when I say that, what I'm telling you is you already know how to do this in many ways because you did it when you were born, right after you came out of your mother's womb, and you were put in the bed or the bassinet or the incubator, wherever you were put. You began this face-down exploration, and the baroreceptors, the nerves with which you feel pressure on your body, are the ones which give you a sense of stability and orientation. The value of this stability and orientation is also a strong emotional value. So when you're on the floor, you generally feel safe and more relaxed than when you're standing up. And being in a perpendicular relationship to gravity allows your fascia, membranes, and skeleton to basically stretch out because you're on the floor. So when the baby's here, generally they begin the orientation with the head, which of course for them is a large portion of the body. And I generally tell my students to work with two motions, which are yes and no. And this begins a relationship with the neck. Now, along with the yes and the no, in the baby is the listening. So since their eyes are not fully focusing, they're listening to the parents. They're listening for the voice of the mother and the father. And this also is a sort of key to prostration practice in any religious tradition, is this bowing down on the floor and then lifting the head up and listening. And you see it, of course, in Hatha Yoga as the cobra posture. So this is a sort of archetypal, primeval relationship with body, earth, but also the parents or the twin voices, which later we carry into life and have to interpret in different ways. Now the baby's also doing something else, and that's they're pressing on their forehead. And sometimes they will take their fist and press into the closed eye with an intensity. And I recommend people who do wisdom of the body press for about a minute on each side. And I may not do the whole minute in this session, but I want you to see how this part of the hand fits into the eye. And once you have pressure on the optic nerve, you may see colors or what are called phosphene activities in the optic nerve. The after effect is to slow the heartbeat and deepen the breathing. With my own students, I always recommend they exhale audibly. So I have them go, And my impression of this audible exhale is that your own brain needs to hear you relax. So it's an auto feedback. So when you hear yourself making relaxing sounds like you get much more effective, rapid relaxation through the entire musculature of the body. And you'll notice that as you relax, you have the sensation of more weight and more mass in your body. And in some ways, you'll feel, for a moment, larger. And so we're going through this process of pressing the face, pressing the eye, teeth, chin. And if your neck is flexible, you can go to the cheek and onto the ear. Okay? So this whole process of pressing the face and using the gestures of no and yes begins to unlock all the stiffness in the neck at the base of the skull, often where migraine headaches are triggered, and where the vision is also processed here in the back of the skull and near the brainstem. So these are very key elements, and the relaxation of the jaw has trigger relationships with the neck, so that when we press our teeth together, it makes our neck reinforced and stronger. And this in turn reinforces the entire spine. So you have this issue of teeth clenching to make yourself feel stable and strong. And in power lifters and people who do a lot of heavy weightlifting, they have to wear a bite guard because sometimes they crack their own teeth lifting heavy weights. So when you relax the jaw muscles, there's the sense of being able to relax the rest of the spine. And when you let the teeth lightly touch, or you press the teeth together and you say yes and no, you're basically activating the musculature. So there's a passive aspect of just exploring and letting these muscles be soft and breaking the plastered expressions that have to be maintained in society, cracking and breaking those off your face through pressure so that you can relieve the energy flow in the body. So much energy is spent maintaining expression, and yes, it's a social necessity, but there's also a bit of a tragedy there in that one has to maintain a mask. So in Wisdom of the Body, we want to break that plaster, that death mask. We want to get that soft again. So all this pressing is to do that. And there is also a psychological parallel where you're basically softening your soul up while you're softening your body up. So that's the beginning. We continue yes and no into larger and larger movements, making circles with the nose. And you'll hear something like sand or mineral deposits in the neck, and that's normal, but it will dissipate. If you do a little neck exercise each day, there'll be a lot less sand and resistance in the neck. The neck is probably one of the most neglected regions of the body as far as exercise. So in Wisdom of the Body, we really encourage people to work with the neck, bringing the ear to the shoulder and letting the spine and the shoulder blades freely move. Okay, and it can even evolve to looking behind you at each foot. And if your neck is particularly flexible, then you can use your chin to make a circle. Now remember, when you're doing all of this movement with the neck, you're actually pulling the windpipe, carotid arteries, jugular vein, all the connective tissue of the neck and throat, which converges into the shoulders and the chest and the clavicle. So the movement of the neck is intimately connected to the entire chest region, or what you'd call the thoracic outlet. And that often shuts down on people as they get older, and they get humped back, or their neck tends to shorten, or the windpipe tends to start to compress. And I've seen that happen with older people to such an extent that they've had surgery to cut certain muscle fiber free to release the windpipe. So none of that's really necessary if you move. So I encourage you guys to do a lot of neck work, and do the yes, do the no, do it looking out, just like this. Okay? But also do it looking down, which will correspond to vertical posture. So that when you look down and do the yes and the no, there's much more stretching in the back and the posterior part of the neck. And take your time and look for resistance. look for pain. And if you find any particular part, like if I'm here and there's a twinge or a pain, stop, contract, try to go into where you feel the pain or the discomfort or trauma or inconvenience, however you want to describe it. Hold the position, make tiny, tiny circles, take a deep breath while you're investigating the resistance. And when you exhale, exhale fully, but make a sound. So it'll be something like, okay, and see if you can get a release inside that connective tissue. And each person will be different. They have a different pattern of traumas or discomforts. That also means each person has a different way of breathing as well as breathing rate. So in Wisdom of the Body, we're encouraging you not so much to be productive through high repetition and strengthening the body as in a gymnastic exercise. And we're not even looking at trying to gather energy. What we're looking at is exploring your body for pain or trauma, locating it, trying to release it, and then moving on or seeing if that takes you to another part of your body. So the axis of thought and wisdom of the body in the beginning is exploration. It's not production, it's not competition, and we're not after any kind of productivity. We're away from all those ideas that people in exercise classes tend to carry. And yoga has even gotten that way quite a bit, where you're trying to compete or reach an objective. In Wisdom of the Body, the objective is for you to feel, to explore, and to give yourself freedom to go slow. And try to find out exactly how it is your body works. So, to review, we start with a little neck work. You've just become familiar with the movements of the neck bones, a small yes, where you can get high compression by pushing the chin forward. That can be done looking down, as well as no. So it's the sign of the cross. It's a yes, it's a no, and it's a circle, working with the neck. And then the pressing of the face, the forehead, the eye, the cheek, the teeth, the chin, and if you're flexible enough, even the ear, but particularly the jaw muscles to begin to get aware of what's happening in the jaws and the teeth and the neck. And if you have a long history with dentists, this will be extremely important. Or if you've ever had your jaw broken boxing or something, this will be extremely important. And then the pressure on the eye for about a minute on each side. And take your time with it. Remember the audible sigh where you inhale and go, and let yourself relax consciously. No hurry. And keep in mind that optical pressure like this is also directly related to fixing the eye on a point or working with a mandala. So all of the religious systems in history do things with the eyes because the optic nerve is one of the fastest ways to get in touch with your thinking. So as soon as you're pressing on your eye, your breathing changes, your heartbeat changes, and you start to wonder what it is you're looking at. So this actually corresponds to traditions of eye fixation in all cultures and religious systems.